Silence is what happens when words get in the way. And silence is what I've given to YouTube for over a year. And if you're still here patiently waiting, thank you. And while I've often felt pretty guilty for just leaving without notice, I promise you it was something that I very much needed. So let me catch you up on what's been going on. The near last video I put effort into, this one about my trip to Salem, Massachusetts. Yeah, that one. See that guy right there? Yeah, him. That's Chris. Well, he becomes the first big thing that's changed for me since I started doing YouTube. For the first time in over a decade, I started dating. And after a year, he moved in, and then we got engaged. This has been the number one reason why there hasn't been any content. I needed to focus on that. Because YouTube has largely been about creating content and not being able to manage my own expectations, I wanted to focus on something more concrete. But while the urges come up to peek in and look at the numbers, what largely stood out was that I wasn't sure if I had anything left to say that anybody wanted to hear. That's not to say that I did nothing. In fact, I went back to showing my art at trade shows. Well, I made it for one trade show. After that, I went off to John Michael Kohler Arts Show to see what was going on there. Inside, they had an installation piece called Workplace. And that one really just kicked me in the head and made me realize what I was focusing on had done to me. I was churning out content, making an artwork a pointless job that lacked both inspiration and soul. Yes, this is a warehouse setting full of actual commercial equipment, moving and maintaining these silly papier-mâché tortillas and papier-mâché plates of food. But it made me think of my fast food job and work in general, and how cooking is not supposed to be factory efficient. It's supposed to be creative. And the best places that I've found to eat are where the food is not treated like a machine off the factory floor, but have a life and flavor of its own. And art's supposed to be the same way. So why had I started to treat my art and my art career like I work at Amazon? When did grinding out pieces to sell them and put them out there become more important than what the work had to say or who it was said to? It's a ridiculous juxtaposition as you look at it. But that is exactly where my mind has been for years. And that realization gave me just a little spark. Just enough to want to get back on the horse. I used to have a business model that worked for me. A steady stream of clients, and while the originals didn't always sell, they were at least something that I enjoyed making. And sometimes that's all it takes. A break. And sometimes to really reflect on if I go back to making videos and doing art, how I want to ensure that I can maintain a more balanced approach. I can make it fun for me, and perhaps make it fun for you to watch. So there are two things that happened in relation to YouTube while I was on hiatus. At about the 8-month mark, I noticed that while the views went down, people weren't actually leaving. And I appreciate that a lot, because it surprised me. I don't know why, but it did. What took time to sink in was that I don't have to rush to grind out content as fast as possible. I can slow down and really think about what I want to say it the way I want, and the pressure to post content finally fell away. Well, this is the big one. I bought into the YouTube lie. No matter how hard I fought it, you see, I had this belief that was fueled by what I was watching on YouTube, all these content creators and coaches saying that YouTube was easy. You could literally post nothing after creating a channel and people would follow, subscribe, comment, and within a few weeks or days you could get monetized. Then sponsors would come and then basically people will come to you. I've been doing this for 10 years. If you can do this within a couple of weeks, I clearly had been doing something wrong, which just fueled my feeling of being a failure. And yet, all of these hundreds of channels and content creators just say, you just sit back and do whatever. You just need to find your people. And That is the main reason why the content and formats for the channel were always all over the board, while I tried to figure out what people wanted to watch. And with every attempt, I got more and more discouraged and more desperate to figure out what I was doing wrong. Well, looks like the joke's on me. Because only recently, a lot of YouTubers are coming forward and quitting, complaining what a load of crap this whole YouTube game is. From random ass algorithm changes to demonetizations to sponsors, that beautiful velvet curtain finally got pulled back and revealed the ugly truth. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a failure. In over a decade. Trying to do YouTube to help support my art. You see, before I started making videos, before I joined the SVA, I had a pretty successful game going. But my smart ass thought I could do it smarter and better. And the biggest problem was, galleries and YouTube are not where my clients and collectors are. So I went from making a decent amount of extra cash to making absolutely nothing. So 5 major points here. My clients, from cat, dog, horse, and trade shoes, don't go to YouTube to watch my channel. My stuff was getting lost in the algorithm because I was all over the board, trying to figure it out. I stopped showing and getting my work out there, even though I was getting my work out there with YouTube. Family drama just added to me feeling like an absolute failure and became a huge detracting factor. And I was so focused on trying to get this YouTube easy thing to work that I wasn't enjoying making art. I was making art for the wrong reasons, and then, determined to make it work, made it into a job. So I spent some time reflecting on all the things that I've done, all the places I've gone, all the ideas that have yet to hit the drafting table. And I found out that solidly, not to be too surprised, I've been slacking on promoting myself. As pointed out by an avid follower and close friend of the channel, someone who I regularly hang out with didn't even know that I had this Fine Art America account. And for those of you who are not aware of what Fine Art America is, it's a website where artists can upload their work and create prints and merch from your art. And when I say prints and merch, it's prints and home interiors, textiles, cell phone cases, t-shirts, cups. There is a lot of stuff on this. Effectively, they give you a base cost and you mark up what you want to make a profit, and that sets the price after, and then you size and orientate how you want your work on these particular items. It seemed like a great way to make some more passive money with my work without having to depend on selling the originals, except that, well, I never talked about it. I thought I had. And after a few years, I had honestly kind of forgot about it. I hadn't uploaded any new work in years, and hadn't renewed my account to update my profile. So between moving in 2021 and the adventure since, my FAA account genuinely didn't seem that important. But here it is. So I went back in, updated all the listings so that the catalog is, well, more complete, because they added some items that you can have your artwork put on. And as I add to videos, I will be adding those pieces of art to the collection on FAA. This will be a pretty big undertaking, as not only were there a lot of entries that were incomplete, but having taken inventory, there are still pieces that are not in there. So in the next few weeks, I'll be adding those pieces that you may never even know are even in existence. Another reason I had for not jumping back on the horse so quickly was that after really absorbing what bullshit I had brought on from doing YouTube and knowing it's not going to lead to a new audience for my art, I needed to find out if doing videos was even a thing I ever wanted to go back to. Filming, editing, script writing, that all takes time that takes away from what does make me feel successful and fulfilled. Doing a trade show was a reason for me to reconsider my audience, my reason for doing my work, and what I had to say. Imagine my surprise when I quietly decided to start taking commissions again and found 3 eager people that had been waiting years for me to do that. Taking commissions. Yeah, I'm taking commissions again, but this time there's a catch. I'm not just taking anyone who walks up with a bundle of cash to burn. And I'm not giving away my time and effort for anybody who happens to walk through the door with a sob story. You see, one of the main reasons I stopped taking commissions was because of what happened with the last one. You don't remember? Oh, perhaps you don't know. See, Jasper was the very last commission that I did. And I did it for free. I did it because I thought it would help. I thought that my help would be valued. I obviously put too much trust in other people valuing my time and effort. After 3 months of time spent filming and drawing, Cheyenne got her documentary and the artwork. She left and I thought that I did something that mattered. Only a year or so later, her promise to take care of it found Jasper's memorial, 3 months of work, in a dumpster, and her calling me eager to claim the value of the piece. Remember how she promised to get it framed? It was never framed. It was never even hung on the wall. A piece that she did not pay for was worth only the insurance money she could claim for it, which, since she didn't pay for it, was $0. That tainted me ever wanting to do commissions so deeply that I never wanted to do them again. But after time, because they do say time heals all things, I've decided that one bad apple should not ruin the whole lot. And after consideration and a lot of time, I have decided to allow for some commissions. But there needs to be an application rather than me just taking any and all requests. If I'm not feeling as though you actually want the piece for anything other than the statement of saying, I have an original. May I direct your attention to the collection of original paintings I already have completed? I will also not just be doing commissions for free. That used to be a thing I did for years. Also, years ago, I tried to keep my prices down and affordable so that anyone who wanted to could ask for something without fearing a huge number being thrown at them. Undercharging for originals and commissions was just the cost I felt of doing business. And I didn't feel I was undervalued until I had one client who was very disrespectful to the point where I threatened to fire them as a client. And then there was the incident with Cheyenne. I have done that enough. And if there is one takeaway from the past that I had a hard time chewing on and swallowing, it was that if I don't value myself, no one else is going to value me either. I spent 10 years working on trying to make something of this channel, so I don't feel like walking away from it would be wise. Even if I'm not entirely sure who or why you guys are watching, because y'all like to lurk without commenting, and I've been throwing darts in a dark room hoping that somebody would say something. There needed to be real change and a better way of doing things so that I wanted to be back in the studio and I wanted to post. So in reinventing what I truly wanted to do, I looked at what I was doing already, what I was looking forward to watching on the morning before work, and the podcasts I was listening to. Without much surprise, they all had a very similar thread. As we're going through, you'll notice I'm kind of catching you up on things that I've worked on over the year. This piece here is the first commission I've taken in quite a while. This is a Rottweiler named Lucy. And I'm not sure how many of you are actually going to watch all of this and get the little artistic tips that are sprinkled throughout. But Lucy came with a few lessons of her own and a nice case of imposter syndrome. And while I'm sure it had a lot to do with the fact that I haven't taken any commissions in years, and this was a little bit more pressure, I was doing very little in the studio at all, and now also experimenting with new materials. You see, this is no ordinary canvas board. It is in fact watercolor board. And what's important about that is the color doesn't absorb into watercolor board the way it would if I gessoed it. Instead, it moved and wouldn't settle and kept making me think for sure I had done something wrong. I'm not sure if watercolor board is meant to do that or not, and while I later found out it is good for use for such things, it didn't come without a whole lot of doubt, and doubt about whether or not I really should go back to doing commissions. But within a few weeks of working on Lucy, there came a few medical issues for myself, because this getting old thing sucks. But what it is reminding me of is that I'm not going to be here and feeling up for sharing my art for forever, so I best make the most time that I have. Alright, back to the family update. Let's go back to Chris. Yeah, I love him to pieces, but he's got his own issues. He's got a very aggressive, severe case of Crohn's disease, along with ankylosing spondylitis, glad I said that on the first time, and rheumatoid arthritis. Chris's health has become something that has caused me to pause things and focus on how to be in balance and there for him and having enough time for me if I want this channel to continue. Because his condition can quickly end him up in the hospital, which in the last year has been 5 times, in an effort to give him support when I'm not around, we are training a service dog to help him when he has mobility issues and alert us when he's having a flare-up, rather than he just ate something that simply doesn't agree with him. Now this takes an incredible amount of time from me, as we are training a dog from ground up, including testing and certifications. May I introduce Miss Salem's Ember. She is a purebred German Shepherd that, by the time she's full grown, is gonna outweigh me, just like Cody did. And if anybody's wondering, I still have all the rest of the kids. Brooklyn barely tolerates the dog, as does Duchess, but she's warming up. Niffler and Maverick are okay with her, but the rescue ferret Macy absolutely adores her, and they have spent hours coming up with their own silly little dog-ferret games to bond over. And as for Nagini, her favorite thing in life is cricket ball, which is when I give her 6 crickets at once and she tries to get them all in her mouth at the same time. And then does this goofy little spider dance to celebrate. It only happens once every few months, and I don't have footage of it, so sorry. There's just B-roll of Nagini. So while yes, she's happy and alive, no, I'm still not handling her, and you know what? We're okay with that. I think that's all the family updating I need to do, so back to the artwork. So while I've agreed to take on some commissions and bring in some extra cash, and actively go back to promoting my Fine Art America account, and actually uploading new artwork to it when I post it here, I've also took a long time thinking about what videos actually took interest for me to watch and ones I'd want to make. And after another trip to Florida for Christmas last year, and yet another trip to Salem, which is where we got engaged, I'm opting for stories that can give people something to think about other than what's going on in their own lives. Sometimes it might be a bit of magic, a bit of lore, an uplifting note to brighten your day, just a bit of something to go with the artwork. As you have not completely turned off YouTube, but taking notes on what I like to watch and why I like watching it. To make videos that tell the story of the art I'm making, not the story of how I'm making it. I like to do more shows, and of course there's the FAA for those who would like to find merch or prints of my artwork and don't necessarily want to purchase the originals. The caveat to those is that pieces that have special effects paints, like if they have glitter, or there's this particular Arctic Fox piece that has a lot of special effects paint in it. It looks great in person. All the special effects paint do exactly what I want it to do in person. That does not trade off well when we're talking about merchandise and prints. If you want something that is got special effects paints, you're going to have to contact me on my email or on Facebook, somewhere like that. So what's the plan going forward? To make videos that tell the story of the art I'm making, not the story of how I'm making it. I'll be doing more shows, and of course there's the FAA page for those who'd like to find merchandise or prints of my artwork. The caveat to that will be that pieces that have special effects paints are most likely not going to be listed for sale as prints because the effects paints don't come out well at all. For those who are looking to commission pieces, you can feel free to contact me on my email below, as well if you were just interested in buying an original piece. I'm not expecting grand traffic to start up with just a simple video. In fact, I'm not expecting anything at all, and that's really nice. To not feel like I'm holding my breath to see what happens. I can simply tell the stories and enjoy sharing in where the artwork came from. Enjoy sharing in the inspiration of the travels. And perhaps give somebody a sense of wonder of their own. Perhaps granting them their own little spark of inspiration. Until next time.